With only 7 days left before I was scheduled to disconnect from this world, I made a conscious decision to start playing the part of the obedient son my parents had always wanted. I stopped arguing when they showed their obvious favoritism towards their adopted son, Leo, and I didn't get upset when my childhood friend, Chloe, seemed to prefer Leo's company over mine. At first, my parents just looked at me with smirks on their faces, saying things like, "Finally acting like a big brother, huh? We all would have been much happier if you had started doing this sooner." As the days went on, however, their expressions turned to confusion. "Adam, why aren't you angry?" they would wonder. I would just smile and reply, "Isn't this what you wanted?" By the time I had reconnected with the program, the situation with my family had reached an all-time low. The program's voice was calm and steady in my mind, saying, "Disconnection program will activate in 1 week. User, we will see you in 7 days." I nodded silently to myself and lit the candles on the small cake I had sitting on my desk. In the flickering candlelight, I clasped my hands together and made my final wish in this world. Just as I was about to lean in and blow out the candles, the door to my room opened. My mom, my dad, my sister Sarah, and Leo all walked in, laughing and talking amongst themselves. When my sister caught sight of me and the cake, she scoffed. "Dad, no wonder he didn't want to attend your birthday party. He's in here throwing one all by himself." My dad's smile immediately vanished, replaced by a look of disgust. He stormed over, grabbed the cake from my desk, and threw it directly into the trash can. "You're ruining your old man's birthday," he spat. "And you have the nerve to sit in here eating cake alone?" My mom just sighed heavily as she looked at me. "Adam, you are getting more and more unreasonable," she muttered to herself as she turned and walked away. "How did I end up with a son like you?" I watched her back as she left, wanting to say something, but before I could, my sister grabbed me by the collar and pulled me forward. "Adam, does it make you happy to ruin the mood for everyone?" she snapped. "Did you forget how much you hurt Dad last time?" I just looked at her and smiled silently. I used to cry and defend myself in these situations, telling them it wasn't my fault. I used to ask them why they always sided with Leo when I was their real family. But now, with only a week left for me to stay, none of those questions seemed to matter anymore. I stood my ground, refusing to back down from her. Her breathing became more labored, and finally she pushed me away from her. Hard. "Adam, you're the worst. You're nothing compared to Leo." My head hit the sharp corner of the coffee table, and a burst of pain radiated through my body. Leo immediately rushed over, his face a mask of concern. "Are you okay?" He glanced back at Sarah. "Sis, you didn't need to be so hard on him." Sarah just chuckled. "Don't trust him, Leo. He's just acting to play on your empathy. He knows you're the kindest one here. That's why he does it." She pulled Leo away, warning him. "He's tricked you so many times. Be careful next time." Every word they said felt like a knife. Holding back tears of pain, I clutched the injury on my head and walked back to my room. "It's fine. I'm leaving soon. I don't care anymore." Today was Dad's birthday. Not too long ago, we had gotten into a massive fight about Leo, and I had left the house. I had planned to try and mend things today, bringing a gift and a cake, but I came home to a locked door. When I called him, I could hear the loud noise of a party in the background. Dad just scoffed into the phone. "Didn't you say I'm only Leo's dad from now on? Why are you calling?" I barely managed to keep my voice steady. "I came to celebrate your birthday." Dad's voice turned cold. "I'll be lucky if you don't ruin my birthday. You even said you wished I'd rest in peace sooner." I heard Leo's voice in the background then, saying, "Dad, come blow the candles." Dad replied gently to him, and then gave me an address. But it felt more like he was giving a handout to a beggar than inviting his son. I hesitated for a moment before I responded. "I won't come. Enjoy it." They had planned this entire party without me, inviting all their relatives, colleagues, and friends, but pointedly excluding me. So I didn't go. Before I hung up, I heard Leo's voice chime in again. "Dad, was that brother's call? Did he finally apologize? Let him join us." The call ended. I sat outside on the porch for a long time, replaying my entire life in my head. Tears that I couldn't control streamed down my face. In the end, I used the points I had saved up over 18 years to request that the program end my mission here sooner. I still have a body, after all, one that is suffering from late-stage cancer, waiting for me on the other side. The door to my room creaked open, and I knew it was Leo without even having to look. He always visited me after family fights, pretending to comfort me, but really just rubbing salt in the wound. "Still hurt?" he asked with a smirk. "I can't believe Sis hit that hard on her own brother." He added, "You know everyone here hates you, so why did you come back?" His eyes landed on the gift bag sitting on my table. He sneered. "Bought Dad such an expensive gift? You work jobs while you're in school for extra cash, right? I wouldn't know. Dad and Mom give me so much allowance that I've never needed a part-time job." He laughed, a sound that I had heard far too often. I had hit him and thrown water at him for his taunts before, but it only ever got me scolded. Dad, Mom, and Sarah would berate me even further and then love Leo even more. I had questioned them many times, asking if they would always see me as jealous, petty, selfish, and stupid, while Leo remained their perfect angel. Even when he bullied me at school or taunted me when no one else was around, my pleas to my family fell on deaf ears, met only with more bias and disgust. The most recent fight, the one that made me leave, was because Leo had stolen a painting I made, entered it into a contest, and won first prize nationally. When I confronted him about it, he just acted like he was the victim. If my brother would be happy winning the award, I'm willing to give it to him. I was boiling with anger and called him what he was, a thief. But my dad just slapped me across the face instead. "Shut up! You useless, jealous brat! How did I end up with a son like you?" I held my face in disbelief. They had never loved me, not really, but they had never hit me before. "Dad, just pretend I'm not your son anymore." I ran out of the house and never came back. Until now. I had thought, somewhere deep down, that things could turn around, that they were all just fooled by Leo's great acting. But now, I finally realized just how naive I had been. Seeing me quiet, Leo just grinned even more cockily. "What? Getting hit finally taught you a lesson? You're not going to curse me back?" I checked my wound in the mirror, ignoring him. "If you want it all so much, it's all yours." I guess my calm reaction wasn't what Leo had been expecting. His grin vanished, turning into a vicious glare. "Adam, don't think you're gifting these things to me. I earned them myself. You're just an annoying pest." I paused and looked at him icily. "Are you done? Then get out of my room." Dad came over a little later with some alcohol pads to clean my wound. I reached out to take them from him, but he pulled my head in to clean it himself. My cold heart felt a small bit of warmth, and my eyes stung. In my original world, I was an orphan. After transmigrating into this one, I finally felt what a loving family could be. Mom and Dad loved me, and my sister adored me. At 20, I was told the mission was to have my family love me, which seemed like a given at the time. Finish the mission, and I could be healthy again in my original world. But I had already decided back then that I wasn't going back. That was until Leo came into the picture, right after Mom's friend and her husband passed away, and my parents took him in. Everything started going wrong after that. Adam? Dad's voice pulled me back to reality. I looked at him as he ruffled my hair. Feeling wronged, huh? I'll go give your sister a talking to. I spoke slowly. Dad, do you really not want me as your son? Dad seemed taken aback by the question, and his tone turned a bit stern. Why would you say that? I'd put my life on the line for you, remember? I nodded silently. He held my hand and patted it gently. Adam, there's something Dad wants to discuss with you. Since you've moved out now, and you'll be living in the college dorms after your exams, why not clear out your room for your brother to use as an art studio? I held my breath. The momentary warmth I had felt from him, cleaning my wound now felt like a cruel joke. What about when I come back? I asked quietly. Dad frowned slightly, as if he was tired of my questions. You can stay in the study for a day or two. It's not like you're anything more than a guest here. I had heard worse from him, but it still stung. I heard my voice speak without even realizing I was talking. Sure, Dad. I smiled at him. Does my brother want anything else? I can give it to him as long as you and Leo are happy. Dad stopped mid-sentence, surprised. Adam, you're okay with this? Whenever Leo had wanted my things in the past, I had always put up a fight. But now I just didn't care anymore. The outcome wouldn't change. I was leaving soon anyway. Seeing me nod sincerely, Dad's confusion turned into an approving smile. His eyes went to the shopping bag on the table, the gift I had gotten him for his birthday. It was a brand-name wallet, bought with money I had made from my part-time jobs and from winning competitions. Understanding his look, I handed the bag over to him. Dad, here. His smile grew wider, his voice full of delight. Adam, you've really grown up. Your mom's punishment worked. Getting kicked out made you reflect and mature. Your sister's lecture was helpful too. I inwardly laughed. Kicked out of my home while still in high school, with no word from my parents, beaten badly by my sister with no one caring. And here he was, feeling proud about it. I suddenly felt that all of it was pointless. Softly, I told my dad, I'm tired. I'll rest now. Dad stood up with a smile. All right, rest up. I turned off the light, lying in bed and breathing evenly. It's almost over, Adam. Don't be sad. The next day, I woke up to the sound of laughter coming from the living room. Rubbing my eyes, I went out. Everyone stopped talking as soon as I appeared. Chloe awkwardly greeted me. Adam, you're up. I nodded and went to the kitchen to get a glass of water. Chloe, who had grown up with me, had once firmly stood by my side. But now, she just follows Leo around everywhere. When he turned everyone at school against me, she just walked away when I asked her for help. Why doesn't anyone like you, Adam? You should reflect on yourself. After drinking my water, I kept my distance and headed back to my room. Leo, however, jumped in front of me excitedly. Adam, Chloe brought some amazing news. He was glowing like the summer sun. The edge of a wallet peeked out of his pocket, glinting under the light. I touched it, unable to resist. His eyes sparkled even more. Pretty, isn't it? It was Dad's, but he gave it to me since I liked it. So Dad just took the gift from me and gave it to Leo. Dad looked a bit flustered. Adam, don't overthink it. But I just smiled tightly. We're family. It doesn't matter who uses it. That awkward smile on Dad's face froze. After a while, he slowly replied, "Yeah, Adam really knows how to be understanding." Leo, with his innocent and naive demeanor, pulled me toward the couch. "Adam, you still don't know Chloe's good news yet." He gave Chloe a gentle look. "Chloe, why don't you tell Adam?" Chloe's eyes darted around. "Isn't the college entrance exam just a few days away? My mom said she'd sign me up for a trip abroad after the exam. I was thinking of taking Leo along and just came to ask Uncle and Auntie for the documents to apply for visas." After she said it, she clenched the hem of her shirt, not daring to look up at me. Dad smiled and joined the conversation. "I'll go grab the documents for you." As he passed by me, he took my hand. "Adam, why don't you go with Dad?" I knew he was worried I might cause a scene again. A few months ago, on my birthday, Chloe had promised to spend it with me. Since Leo arrived, no one had remembered to celebrate my birthdays anymore. Every year, Chloe was the only one who would light candles and eat cake with me. But this time, even when the cake had melted, she never showed up. The gift that was meant for me ended up on Leo's wrist. That day, I distinctly felt that the last important person in my life was slowly slipping away. Fear, panic, and anger overwhelmed me. I rushed to the hospital, where I found my whole family and Chloe fussing over a pretend sick Leo. Nobody remembered it was my birthday. I ran up and slapped Leo across the face. In the next moment, both Sarah and Chloe shoved me to the ground. "Get out!" Sarah's eyes widened, pointing at the door. "How many times have you bullied Leo?" Chloe looked disappointed too. "Adam, I never imagined you'd be this type of guy." So I guessed they feared that hearing Chloe inviting Leo to travel abroad would trigger another meltdown. Dad wanted to rush me away, but it wasn't necessary anymore. I gently pulled my hand from his. Dad was taken aback. Leo's clear voice chimed in. "Adam, if I go with Chloe alone, would you be upset? If you don't want me to, I'll let this opportunity go." "No need," I calmly interrupted. "Enjoy your time." I continued walking toward my room with my water cup. Suddenly, Chloe stood up and approached me. "Adam, when the time comes, I'll bring you back a souvenir." There was a mix of panic and a sense of trying to please in her eyes. It was funny, really. When I made a fuss about her getting close to Leo, she called me petty and selfish, even refusing to walk home with me after school. Now that I'm not intervening, she wants to bridge the gap with me. I smiled and shook my head. "Thanks, but I don't need any gifts. Have fun." Maybe I was too calm. As I closed the door, I could still hear their whispered discussions behind me. "Isn't Adam acting a bit differently?" "Yeah, before. If you didn't take him out to play, he'd make a huge fuss," Sarah sneered. "Where does he get the nerve to be angry? Dad's hand wouldn't be like that if it weren't for him." I silently closed the door. Huge drops of blood had hit the hospital floor. In Leo's 3rd year at our house, Dad had gotten a message from kidnappers. "I've got your son, Adam. If you want him back, bring 50,000 alone to this place." Dad went, only to find just the kidnapper, with no sign of me. During the struggle, the kidnapper slashed Dad's wrist with a knife. The wound was deep, damaging the nerve, and Dad was a renowned surgeon. The kidnapper had laughed sinisterly. "What a fool. Your son said just to bring you here, and after injuring your hand, the money's all mine. Don't blame me if you must blame someone." Unknowing, I was at a classmate's party at the time. My mom burst in angrily and kicked me hard. I fell to the ground, looking at her in pain. "Mom, what's wrong?" Her eyebrows almost shot up. "You have the nerve to ask? If Leo hadn't found the phone you threw out of guilt, we'd never have known just how vicious you are. Getting an outsider to destroy your own dad." I was so worried about Dad that I couldn't ask anymore, rushing straight to the hospital. Blood was still smeared on the hospital floor. Dad lay in bed, heartbroken. Adam, even if you were jealous of us for adopting Leo, you shouldn't have tricked Dad into going to his death. Adam, I really regret having you as my son. Afterward, I explained, sometimes in tears, sometimes with calmness, many times that I didn't know how that conversation with the kidnapper ended up on my phone. How could I team up with a stranger to harm my own dad? But it was all taken as me being stubborn and deceptive. Is it possible Leo forged those chat logs for you? Leo acted shocked, tears streaming down his face. Before, when you wrongly accused me of things, I took the blame just to make you happy, since I'm just adopted. But this involves Dad's prized career. I won't cover for you this time. He sounded so righteous, further cementing the blame on me. From then on, my family viewed me as heartless. But late at night, Leo came into my room, grinning. Adam, you're ruthless, destroying what Dad loves most. How can he ever treat you like a son again? You framed me. So what? Does anyone believe you? He left, covering his mouth, with the moonlight in the background. I crumpled on the floor, just as he said. From now on, don't even think you have a dad. Dad indeed repeated this countless times. At last, it was almost true. Counting down silently, I faced the ceiling. 5 days left. Evening came, and Chloe stayed for dinner. The table was a feast. Dad served food to Chloe and Leo. Eat up, both of you love the crabs. They're at their best this season. Leo acted spoiled. Chloe, it's too much trouble. Could you help me with them? With a fond smile, Chloe agreed. Dad joked, You're all grown up and still need Chloe to take care of you. What's going to happen when you find a girlfriend? Mom laughed too. It's obvious, right? Look at how clingy they are now. Marriage is just a matter of time. My sister teased, and Leo blushed. You two grew up together. Isn't this meant to be? Everyone was happily chatting, but the noise was annoying. I pretended not to hear anything, just eating my food with a blank face. But Sarah wouldn't even let me have this quiet moment. She tapped her utensils and called my name. Adam, what do you think? I looked up, confused. She smiled, but her eyes were cold. Don't you think Leo and Chloe are childhood sweethearts, made for each other? I hesitated for a second. She chuckled. You're not still daydreaming about childhood promises, thinking you can marry Chloe someday, are you? I paused eating and kept my expression calm. No, they're a perfect match. I wish them a long, happy future in advance. The table fell into an awkward silence. Sarah angrily took another bite. Such a buzzkill every time. Leo chuckled. Adam's jealous again. Chloe, you better comfort him. Chloe looked at me with mixed emotions, but did nothing. Dad put a crab on my plate. You've been talking too much, Adam. Eat up, these crabs are delicious. I nodded, but didn't move a muscle. After a few more bites, I wanted to leave the table. Mom and Dad, with finals around the corner, I'm gonna go study. Take your time eating. Mom stopped me. Hold on. I turned back. Her eyes were icy. Your dad just gave you crab and you're leaving now? You don't want to make your dad sad, do you? Leo watched me with a smirk, waiting to see how I'd react. Chloe seemed anxious, but didn't say anything. I interrupted before she could speak. I didn't want to owe her anything, or add to the misunderstandings. Dad, Mom, I gave them a small smile. I'm allergic to seafood. If I eat it, I sometimes can't breathe. Did you forget? The room fell silent again. Chloe let out a barely noticeable breath. Before Leo was adopted, I had almost fainted from eating crab. Dad was really sorry back then, and we didn't have seafood at home after that. But once Leo came along, he liked seafood. Slowly, all kinds of seafood made a comeback at the table. No one had mentioned my allergy since. Dad stammered, "Is that so? But don't we buy a lot of shrimp and crab this time every year? You never said anything." "Dad, didn't you see that I never eat them?" Dad wavered slightly. Sarah jumped up angrily. "I bet if Leo likes something, you'll be allergic to it." When people are speechless, they sometimes just laugh a little. Sarah looked uneasy when I laughed. "What's that supposed to mean?" I calmly replied, "If that's what you think, nothing I say will change your mind." With that, I turned and left. I looked around the room. This place I had lived for 18 years. At the table earlier, Mom had mentioned turning my room into a studio. She said that after finals, I should move out into the study. Those last few days before the exam felt like a mercy. But I didn't want it anymore. The next day I skipped school, pretending to be sick. With Mom and Dad at work, I started packing my stuff alone. Once I started high school, they had cut off most of my allowance to make me behave. I applied for financial aid and picked up part-time jobs during breaks to cover my expenses. I didn't have many clothes or shoes. Leo, though, had tons of cool branded clothes, the latest styles every season. He was popular at school, while I was just a shadow. Teachers would ask why there was such a difference in our grades, since we were brothers. Other students would eagerly explain. "Teacher, Leo is so handsome. He's going to be a star. Grades aren't as important." The teacher would shake her head in resignation. She used to try and get Leo to focus on his studies, but he would just dismiss her. "Teacher, I'm not like you, slaving away for nothing. I'll be a celebrity, making more in a day than you do in a lifetime. So butt out." Nobody wants to waste effort on someone who doesn't appreciate it. She stopped trying, and he enjoyed the freedom. But I wonder, how long can Leo keep living in this fantasy world built on lies? I packed all my clothes and shoes into a suitcase and tossed them in the downstairs garbage can. Anything my parents had given me before Leo arrived, I gave to the kids playing in the square. Other things I couldn't take, I took by taxi to the outskirts. I set them on fire. The smoke made me cough, bringing tears to my eyes. At first, I just wanted to fulfill my tasks and return to the original world, healthy. I was sunny and cheerful, calling them Mom and Dad sweetly. Feeling their unconditional love made me so happy, something I had never known in 2 lifetimes. I learned to love them back wholeheartedly. But once Leo came, I was ignored, blamed, and criticized repeatedly. I realized then, never having something can be a blessing. At least you don't feel the pain of losing it. Having it and then losing it is torture. I watched the fire grow, then slowly die down to ashes, feeling all my resentment wash away. I don't want a love I can never have. That night I moved into the study. For a few days no one noticed. After all, it had been ages since Mom or Dad had come to talk to me in the evenings. I stayed up all night, saying goodbye to this world. Tomorrow is the second day of the college entrance exams. It's also the day I'm planning to leave this world. In the morning, the whole family surprisingly stayed home. Dad handed me some soy milk with a smile and some advice. "Adam, eat up so you can give it your all on the battlefield." Mom even gave me an unusual smile, telling me not to stress. Leo was sipping his soy milk and looked at me thoughtfully. I figured he was just jealous that Mom and Dad were being nice to me for once. But right before the car started, a sharp pain hit my stomach, and I realized what Leo's look had meant. He had drugged the soy milk. Of course, why would he let me score well on this test? Otherwise, wouldn't I get all the attention? Who would notice him then? Seeing me clutching my stomach in pain, Sarah looked annoyed. Why are you always stirring things up? Leo pretended to be concerned. Are you that nervous about not doing well on the test? Man, toughen up. Sarah laughed out loud. Bet you're scared of screwing up and embarrassing yourself, huh? Always saying you're number one in the class. Sure, you must be cheating. I didn't bother to argue back, but Dad suddenly cut her off sharply. Sarah, shut it! How can you talk to your brother like that? Sarah was shocked, staring at Dad. Dad, are you possessed? Don't you know how he just plays the victim and acts dumb? Dad's expression got complicated. I had no time for their family's little drama. I opened the car door and ran back inside. I need to use the restroom. You guys go ahead. I'll catch up later. A few minutes later, I heard the door open again. Sarah's voice came through. Mom and Dad went to drop Leo off at the test site. I'm supposed to take you. She let out a smug laugh. But I'm not going to take a liar like you. Figure it out yourself. I felt awful, but oddly calm. Not even a twinge of sadness. Through the door, I called out to her. When did you start hating me so much? When we were kids, you doted on me. There was silence for a long time outside. I sighed. Was it after Leo came? He's really good. I'm not. He's the brother you deserve, right? Still silence. A few minutes later, I heard the front door close. Sarah had left. The program's voice came to life again. User, do you still want to go to the exam? I can teleport you there, but you're leaving anyway. Does it really matter? I hesitated briefly, then nodded. Yeah, I want to go. Losing a high-scoring son to brag about. I wonder if they'll regret it. When the final bell rang, I put down my pen and looked out the window. It was nearing evening, but the summer sunset was still blazing. Birds flitted by, chirping as they perched on the banyan tree. I followed the crowd out of the school and started walking into the unknown. I chatted idly with the program about these past 18 years. The program sighed. User, it's been tough for you. I seized the moment to whine. Can you make my original body healthy again since I had it tough? The system went silent. I chuckled and let it off the hook. I got to live 18 extra years. That's plenty. I laughed and looked up, but my smile vanished. A car was out of control, speeding towards the crosswalk. A little boy, just a few years old, was crossing with his dad. They hadn't noticed the car speeding towards them. Watch out! I shouted, running towards them. As I shoved the boy and his dad out of the way, the car slammed into me. My body flew into the air. I saw the terrified boy, safely cradled in his dad's arms. I closed my eyes with contentment. Seems like this way of going is a bit more meaningful. The next moment I heard familiar voices. Honey, did you hit someone? Someone got out of the car, trembling as they touched me. Then, a gasp. It's Adam! I struggled to open my eyes, a smile tugging at my lips. The car that hit me was my family's. Adam, don't close your eyes. Hang in there. Dad's taking you to the hospital. Hearing Mom panic, Dad yelled, Hurry up! I felt someone lifting me. The warmth of the embrace was long missed. Mom's voice trembled. Adam, Mom's taking you to the hospital right now. I heard Leo's voice too, but it was fading. I slowly closed my eyes, ready to leave. I gently gripped Dad's hand in response. What do you want to say, Adam? Dad, don't cry. I took a deep breath. Just pretend you never had a son. With that, I lost consciousness completely. The next thing I heard, I was just a soul, floating with the program outside the operating room. The doors opened from the inside. Mom and Dad rushed to the doctor, desperate for news. "I'm sorry. The patient had severe internal bleeding, and the pre-existing condition didn't help. We did all we could." Hearing the final verdict on my life, Dad's legs gave out, tears welling in his eyes. He clung to the doctor's coat, mumbling, "How could this happen? How could he die?" Mom, too, wobbled and slid down the wall. Only Leo, with a subtle smile, pretended to mourn and comfort them. "Dad, don't be sad. You still have me." But the next second, Dad pushed him away, hard. Leo hit the ground, confused, looking at Dad. Dad, trembling all over, pointed at Leo with bloodshot eyes. "You're not my son. It must be you. You took my son's life, and that's why he's dead." Sarah arrived just then, shielding Leo. "You're scaring Leo, Dad." But Dad took a step closer. He yanked Sarah by the shirt, demanding, "Didn't I tell you to pick up your brother? Why was he alone when it happened?" Sarah was stunned. The next moment, Dad slapped her hard. "Are you having trouble telling who your real brother is?" I looked at the chaotic scene in front of me and felt completely unfazed. The program shook its head. That late realization is pretty gross. But then I had a sudden stroke of insight and turned to look at it. Why did I suddenly find myself in front of my parents' car, saving someone? That wasn't even the road they'd take home. The program sighed and said softly, "You've had it rough these past 18 years, so I couldn't help but intervene a little." I laughed out loud. This cold program was kind of cute, actually. I thought my story here was about to end. I asked the program when we could leave. It was too noisy and I didn't want to watch anymore. But the program said to wait a bit longer, that one more person still hadn't arrived. I got curious and looked toward the end of the hallway. Just then I saw Chloe running wildly toward us, with police and teachers following behind her. I thought the police were here to deal with the car accident with my mom and me. But instead they cuffed Leo's wrist. Everyone was shocked. My mom spoke up. "What's going on? What's wrong with my son?" Sarah started shouting like a frenzied hen. "Let go of my brother!" The police hushed them with a stern command, and then looked around the room with a cold gaze. Based on the audio evidence provided by Chloe, we suspect Leo of being involved in a kidnapping and murder plot. Everyone was stunned. Leo's teary, red eyes widened as he looked at Chloe in disbelief. Chloe stepped forward, held up her phone, and played the recording. "Leo, was the whole thing with Uncle's injured wrist arranged by you?" Leo's voice was slurred, clearly inebriated. "Yeah, I hired those kidnappers and faked those chat logs between Adam and them." He giggled. "His dumb parents and sister believed it, took him as a scapegoat, and treated me like a treasure instead." Leo's laughter echoed down the hallway. I took a deep breath. My parents and Sarah were already livid as they listened to the recording. Leo tried to grab the phone to interrupt the recording, but was held back by the police. "Don't move," they ordered. Leo glared at Chloe, his eyes filled with anger. "So all your care and concern these past days were just an act to get close and trick me into confessing? To right the wrongs against Adam?" Everyone looked at Chloe. Under their gaze, she slowly nodded and smirked coldly at Leo. "I grew up with Adam. I know what kind of person he is better than you ever could." Leo suddenly forced a sad smile. "Too bad. Your Adam is already dead." Chloe froze. Her expression shattered, and she slowly turned towards my parents. Under their deathly gazes, she crumpled to the ground. The program and I looked at each other in shock, speechless. The program clicked its tongue twice. "User, You really misjudged this lovesick fool." Before I could react, things suddenly took a turn. Dad, holding keys, suddenly rushed at Leo. Before anyone could react, the key was forcefully shoved into Leo's eye. "Scumbag! Give me back my son!" On the day of my funeral, a lot of people showed up. Leo ended up in prison, and Dad was arrested and awaiting trial. The father and son I had saved came to pay respects, praying for a better reincarnation for me. Old classmates who had bullied me, forced by Chloe with evidence, came to my grave to apologize. After everyone left, Chloe broke down in tears. She rambled about neglecting me the past few days, and her guilt and regret. She lamented that by exposing Leo too late, she had caused my death. She cried for so long that I went from crying with her and silently comforting her to getting a headache from listening. Finally, I was at my wit's end. "Program, help me out." The program smirked and snapped its fingers. Chloe wobbled and fainted. I was thrilled. "Wow, that's impressive." The program stood there, mouth agape. "I haven't done anything yet. She fainted on her own after crying too much." On the day the college entrance exam results came out, my mom and Sarah went to the prison with my scores. In just a few days, she seemed to have aged 10 years, with her hair turning white. Adam was the top scorer in the exam. We should be happy for him. Across the glass, Dad touched the screen showing my scores, tears streaming down his face. My brilliant, good-hearted son, how did he end up like this? Tears washed over him. As my success on the exam got out, people began digging into my past. A flood of calls from old friends and relatives came in, congratulating Mom for having such an outstanding son. They didn't know I was already gone. Even reporters were calling for interviews. Someone had photographed me sleeping on a park bench before the exams, sparking curiosity. It made Mom pause. Maybe she recalled how, having been kicked out, I had nowhere to go and was sleeping in the park. Luckily, nothing bad had happened to me. The reporter kept pressing, "With such an excellent son, you and your husband must have doted on him greatly." Returning home, Mom and Sarah saw kids playing at the apartment complex. Suddenly, seeing a little girl holding a music box, Sarah froze. She rushed up, snatching the music box and demanding to know where it came from. Terrified, the little girl cried out, and her mother pushed Sarah back defensively. "It was given to us by some guy a few days ago. What's wrong with you?" Sarah's eyes filled with tears instantly, her voice trembling. "I'll buy it. Name your price." She bowed her head deeply, clutching her heart like it was in unbearable pain. This was my brother's. It was my birthday gift to him." As the wind rustled the leaves, I turned with the program to leave. The awakening and regret my death brought them weren't anything to be moved by. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in a hospital bed in my original world. The program spoke calmly. "User, due to your saving 2 lives before returning, the Strategy Management Bureau decided to restore your health in your original world." It paused. "Kindness is always rewarded. User, may you have a happy life." It took me a while to finally accept this reality, and for the rest of my life, I'd be happy.